Let's do this. Zach Sang Show.
All here.
Hey,
what's going on there?
We're talking about Ryan.
Yo, it's a Zach Sang Show.
What up, Zach Sang?
We got Heather, we got Dan, and we welcome Travis Clark to the studio.
All right. I like clapping for myself.
Really, you're We the Kings.
Yes.
I mean, it's you and other dudes, but you are the main guy. You are the ginger.
Depending if they're tuned in right now, yeah, it's a full 5 collaborative effort. If they're not listening, hey, what's up? I'm We the King.
I mean, is it still collaborative all these years later?
Of course. Yeah. We dude, I mean, we've been a band for 10, almost 11 years.
Nuts.
And it's a brotherhood. You know, I know these dudes better than anybody. They know me better than anybody. And I think that's one of the things that kept us together so long is we actually we flesh things out when we get like in fights and stuff. We just talk about it, you know, versus just letting that deep-seated resentment settle and then just breaking up as a band.
Well, because then it gets ugly.
It does, yeah.
And you would never be able to exist for this long if you allowed it to fester.
You would be like, it's not worth it to be away from the family, friends, and all that stuff if I'm just going to be stuck on a tour bus. Dude, you're in a tour bus. Like, it's a very close quarters for people that if they hate each other, it's like, man, they're just going to fight the whole time. Like, you just got to jump ship.
Hey, at least you're not in a van anymore.
I know.
You know?
Thank God.
Going from Warp City to Warp City.
Yep.
Is there any part of you that is surprised that you've been doing this for 10, 11 years?
Every day. Honestly, and like this is me being as real as possible. This isn't like the radio shtick or anything. Like my mom calls me every time that she hears a sad song on the radio, and she puts the phone up to the speaker and it starts like distorting. Like I'm like, Mom, back from the speed back, and she'll literally call me like on cue. So if it plays, you know, at 93.3 FLZ is our hometown station where she lives. And they've been playing it like crazy, and every time she calls me, she literally sits in her car and listens to it. Like she'll sit in her car for like 2 hours just to hear the song.
But she's been doing that for years.
She's been doing that for years, and so she's still surprised. And I think I get that from her.
Got it.
You know, every time I hear it, even if I see a comment saying like, "Hey, this song changed my life," it makes a big difference in my life. You know, it's a full cycle, full circle thing. You know, every time I see somebody saying, "Hey, sad song got me through a really tough time," or sad song is me and my boyfriend or girlfriend like song together, it really, like, I read that and it makes me like really happy to see that people are so affected in a positive way.
I want to get back to those comments in a second. The new single is Sad Song. It's featuring Elena Coates.
Yes.
Is there a version out there that has Olivia Holt on it?
There is. Yeah. There's so.
Tell me that story.
Yeah. We did this movie called Summer Forever, and we met Olivia Holt. She was there with Dove Cameron.
Look at you with the Disney Channel crew.
Yeah, you know,
keeping you young next to your daughters.
My daughters, they're gonna grow up loving Disney. So I gotta
you've worked with Demi Lovato too, right?
We have, yeah.
A whole bunch of Disney things.
And then so we met her through that, and we had a remix of the song, and we're like, hey, this would be a good opportunity to try somebody different on the track. Elena's amazing, and it was perfect for the ballad, but the remix version is this kind of upbeat, summery type vibe. Like, let's just try somebody different. So I texted a couple friends, and she was one of them. And I was just like, hey, do you want to be on the song? And I played it for her, and she loved it. And we cut it at our friend's house in Burbank. She just came over one day, and we just finished it.
Why was now the right time for a new We the Kings record?
We have been putting out a record every other year since we started.
So this is in your
it's like,
cycle.
It's to meet our quota.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know, we, especially in this day and age where, you know, singles and music, just new stuff is so important and valuable to the ADD generation, which I am part of.
Yeah.
You know, I you can't really go away for too long.
Yeah.
Especially when you're a band like We the Kings, like we thrive because of our fans. You know, and if we're not constantly touring or constantly putting out music, then, you know, we're not doing right by them. You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, I understand.
And it means a lot to us, and our fans mean a lot to us. So whatever we can do, and I never stop writing. So I just continue, you know, I have all these songs, might as well put them out, right?
Yeah, but how long were you sitting on the Sad Song before you released it?
Sad Song was that's even a funnier story because Sad Song I started writing on the road. It was one of the only songs I've ever written on the road. Usually when I write, I'm at home and, in kind of like my safe zone. I started writing the song because I missed the hell out of my family. And, a lot of people don't really understand when you are an artist, when you are a band that tours, you miss Christmases and Thanksgivings and New Year's and because you're doing all these events.
Of course.
And not every time do you get to do those events in your hometown where all your friends and family are. So there are times where you just hit that like wall, and I was having one of those moments, and I wrote Sad Song in that moment, in that vein. And I think that's the sentimentality of it really shines through and comes through because it was a real moment. I was really sad, at that time.
It's a beautiful record. And when you sit down to write a song on the road because you haven't done that or you don't do it, are you surprised that it's pouring out of you, or did you know that you were in need of this therapy?
I mean that you just literally named it perfect. Like, it is absolute therapy. I turn to music for everything. If I have insomnia, like I'll literally go to like yoga relaxation music and I'll put my headphones on and I'll pass right out. But to answer the question, like, I was surprised. I wasn't used to riding on the road in that kind of environment, but I just sat in the back lounge of the tour bus and just like started playing something. And we had this like little MIDI keyboard, so that, the dun, 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 dun. I was like, this is really cool. I love this piano part. And then it just kind of organically grew from there. I think it took, 2 or 3 hours to finish the entire thing.
When was the song ready to be released?
The song was ready to be released. We finished it probably, it was a fall tour, so it would have been September, October of 2013.
Oh, wow.
And it came out December 16th of that year.
So it's been around for a minute.
Almost 5 years.
But you re-released the record now.
But we didn't even re-release it. This song was exploding. Like, it had 120 million views on YouTube. It had 70 million
so it really called out.
Streams on Spotify. Like, this song, for the first time in We the King's career, this song was just raising its hand. It was like, please, I want a chance to win. And, every other occasion before we put the record out, we were like, okay, this sounds like a single, so let's go for this one. We had the unique opportunity to test it and research it. So like, we put out the album, and a few years later saw which song was reacting the most, and we're like, hey, let's put this out. This song means a lot to us as a band, and it clearly means a lot to the fans, so let's just go with it. So
do you listen to radio now and you go, pop punk doesn't exist anymore, so we should kind of slide on in there, or we have an opportunity to really stand out?
I've never done the lane thing, is what I call it.
Yeah.
Like where there's a lane available. And I think the reason that I've done that is because touring and our live shows have always been consistent. Ever since we started the band, we don't ever have a problem selling out a room. And I've seen some artists that have big songs on the radio that have trouble, that cancel tours because they don't, have that thing. So and it's unfortunate. It's nothing against them. It's just kind of how it is. There's no connectivity with the fan base to the artist. If, from the very start, like our manager, Brett, he was like, go out and meet everybody. Like, so that's our mentality every time. And I think when it comes to the radio side, we're just going to continue being us and hope radio comes full circle and starts playing stuff with guitar on the music.
Check Yes Juliet. You would say that song changed your life.
Oh my God, yes, without a doubt. It's funny, and that was like, I call it like the 11th hour song. That was a song done, after the record was done, after our first album was done. And I remember calling our label, and we were like, hey, we have an extra song. And they were like, no, you can't put an extra song. Like, the record comes out in like 3 days.
They must have hated you.
Oh, they hated me. So I was like, they were like, it can be the single for the second album. And I was like, okay, cool. That's fine. And then 5 minutes would go by and we were like, no. It's got to go on this one. This song's special. And they were like, all right, well, so then they ended up pushing the album back 2 months to October 2nd.
For that song.
For that song.
Wow.
And the band and Brett, who's our manager, literally fought for that song to be everything it was. And it had a different name before. It was like, I forgot to title the song, so it was like 11th Hour Song or something. They were like, can you at least change the name of the song? And so I was like, how about Check Yes Juliet? And then, fast forward hindsight, It was everything to us.
If that song didn't make it onto that album, do you think you'd still be making music?
I wouldn't even be on this couch right now. You know, it's like it's funny to think about where you would be. You know, I love writing music. I think, you know, I always try to stay as humble as possible because my mom would absolutely kill me if I ever came home with like an ego. But I do really believe that that I have what it takes to write a hit song, and I think, you know, if it wasn't Check Yes Julia, I think it would have been another song at a different time. But now, being in the music industry for, you know, 10 plus years, you realize how much like luck and right timing and things like that has a big part to do with it. And it's not just talent. You know, it's hard work, talent, and then something magical that happens at the right time.
But
and
that's a tough pill to swallow.
it is. It really is, because, you know, these kids, there's really young kids who are so talented and who are working very, very hard, and for some reason can't break into the spotlight. And that's just because there's that third element that you really need. You need some sort of story. With Sad Song, that was, you know, people bring their songs to radio and it costs, you know, a couple $100,000, you know, when you're figuring it out to get it to chart. There was a program director in Long Island at WBLI that was like, hey, I really like the song, heard it from a soundtrack or from a Spotify playlist, and was like, what is this? And it was like, this is a hit, I'm gonna play it. Like, we couldn't buy that attention before, you know, and that was our lucky charm. So that happened over Christmas, right around New Year's, and we just called it our Christmas miracle because, you know, that's what we needed, and it ended up working out.
You have a deep appreciation for radio, and I thank you for that, because I think a lot of artists sometimes discredit it or maybe forget that it exists, or streaming is their only focus, and how many playlists can I get on, how many streams does it have? Yep. But you really become a mainstream artist when everything is, you know, headed in one direction.
Well, and you're exactly right, because when you're just listening to the radio and, you know, Coldplay comes on, and then, you know, Eminem, and then We the Kings, and then Beyonce, you're just like, what just happened? We the Kings is as big as Beyonce. You know, it's like, it's one of those things that people see that perspective, and that is what it is. So, of course, I have a massive appreciation for radio, because not only, dude, at the very end of the day, it's just really cool to hear your song on the radio. Like, to hear my voice, even when I'm, you know, introducing the song, you know, hey, this is our new single, Sad Song. Like, even that is cool. Like, I get goosebumps even talking about it. Like, I get really excited, man. I'm so grateful to even be in the position that somebody would even want to play the song. You know, I just continue remembering being in, you know, my parents' garage trying to play music, you know, and trying to learn and starting a band, and I've never forgotten that moment. So it's just a life changer.
Was there a okay, I have so many questions for you, but I want to kind of go in order. Check Yes Julia is the first song that changes your life.
Correct.
Would you say Demi's Will Be a Dream is on that list of life-changing records?
Yeah, that one's actually funny, because we were the first song that Demi ever took to radio. You know, that she had the camp. The rock camp.
Camp Rock.
Camp Rock.
Camp something.
The rock camp. Oh my God, I'm such a dad. The rock camp. No, so she had songs that had done really well, but as far as top 40 radio,
she had nothing.
We kind of introduced her a little bit, and right off the bat, it was kind of like, well, you know, radio program directors didn't know if Demi's name meant anything, but as time went on, and she started becoming more and more popular, and she's a talent, man. She is so gifted.
But even on that record, her vocals are sick.
You should have heard. She sent that to us after it had been mixed, and everybody, and we were listening in the tour bus, because after we had tracked it with her, you know, it was like another couple weeks, so we went on tour, and we're sitting there in the tour bus listening to it, and every one of us is just like, jaw on the floor, dropped. Like, we didn't know people could sing like that, and I was like, well, that's perfect, because it makes my voice sound super bad.
I think you guys balanced each other out. It was a really nice combo.
She was absolutely amazing to work with. She's like, you know, a beautiful soul, and, you know, even doing the video was really fun.
But what was that like? Because Demi could admit that during that stage of her life, she was in a different position than she is in now.
Yeah, she was, absolutely. I think I think what it was, for us at least, like attracts like. And, you know, we have always tried to be positive to each other and good role models and, you know, family friendly people, you know?
Yeah.
And I think around us, it wasn't hard. She wasn't struggling as much, you know, as she might have been.
She felt comfortable?
I think she felt comfortable. I think she felt our sense of family.
Yeah.
And I felt like she could really be herself without any of the other distractions.
What was the creative process like with her? Were you said she sent it to you, so you weren't in the studio with her?
No, we were in the studio and
Okay.
we wrote it, but the engineer, in order for him to mix it and stuff,
Got it.
Sent it to us later. But the creative process was like, I gave her control. I was like, here's the lyrics. Here's how I sing it. Do you want to sing it differently? And she just killed me. Like, it was so good. And every take, like, there's no tuning on her vocals. There's like no reverb. It's like so dry and it's perfect. I was like, how do you do that? I was just sitting there the whole time. It was relatively quick. Probably took an hour and a half to
Wow.
track all her vocals. She was just spot on. I remember the engineer was like, do you want to do another take? I was like, wait, really? Can she beat that? You know,
Yeah,
it's
right.
like, it was incredible.
Any lyric changes?
There were no lyric changes. I think, but I opened it up to her. I was like, if something rings more true to you, then feel free. You know, I want you to be a part of this song. But there were no lyric changes.
Got it.
Would you still, or would you do another song with Demi? I'm sure you would. Do you think Demi would do another song with you guys nowadays?
Well, I don't know, man. It's, you know, sometimes it gets like really political, especially once they get to like a really high level of artistry. I would like to think if our management and label or lawyers and labels were talking, probably not.
Mm-hmm.
But if I texted her, I was like, hey, do you want to be on a song? Like, I think I could get a better response.
Which is how it works usually.
She loves music, man. She,
Yeah.
you know, and I think at the end of the day, if she loves a song, she would want to be a part of it. You know, for Sad Song, like, we had the option to pick a girl to do it, and that's why we liked Elena. You know, Elena was a name that wasn't known, and people could listen to the song without any predetermined judgment of what it would sound like. You know, had we gotten Demi for Sad Song, it would be amazing, but people would kind of know what to expect, or maybe even hate it off the bat, or
Yes.
love it off the bat without even giving the song a fair chance.
I get that. You know, and you also don't need a superstar to make a hit song.
No, you don't. You know, and I don't think my voice is, you know, exceptional. I think I've been lucky enough to like kind of form my voice into what it is. But, you know, I watch like The Voice and American Idol and the X Factor, and some of these like kids that are my age or even younger are singing. I'm just like, man, they have like the best voice ever.
You have 2 daughters.
I do.
How has that changed your creative writing process?
Oh my God, paradigm shift. Just,
In everything? And what motivates you? What is it?
yeah, I mean, it's. I get like choked up because they're like my absolute life, and I didn't think that I could love the way that I do before them, and you know, from little things like my daughter was running, and so everybody can get an idea. My first daughter Kinsley is 2.5. And my second daughter, Kaya, is 6 months old. So Kaya is still like immobile, like she just kind of like chills.
Rolls over a little bit.
Yeah, she rolls over like she's trying to crawl, so she
Right.
does this like army like thing. But Kinsley was, you know, running around, and I get her like every shoe that I have, like Yeezys and Pharrells and like Nike, like Air Jordan, like she has all of them so that we can
cute.
match.
love it.
And sometimes they're like too big because they didn't make her size at first. Anyway, she tripped and fell, probably because her shoes were too big, and she like had a bloody knee, and it started to like drip a little bit, and she just started crying, and she just ran over like with her arms like daddy, daddy, crying.
Aw.
Like she knew that she could depend on me to be a good father, and I just picked her up. She ended up falling asleep in my arms in like the fetal position, and no matter how bad my arms were throbbing, because I was like, oh my God, like holding 25 pounds for a long time, like
hard.
it starts to, you know, weigh on you, literally. And I just, you know, from moments like that, it changes my whole perception of everything. You know, 10 years ago, we were single dudes in a band, you know, trying to get laid every night, you know, and meeting, these girls that would be in one city and then not in the next city, and it was like we weren't always like the best people. Granted, we had to go through that to make like a real change in our lives, but now I feel like I respect people more, and I know I always respected people, but I've gone through a lot, and I've been able to, if I didn't take the positives out of it, if I didn't learn something from who I was, then I'm not doing myself any justice. I'm certainly not doing anybody else any justice. So having 2 daughters, having a wife just from the start it's a big change.
I watched your wife give birth.
Did you really?
Yeah.
How? Why?
That's
posted
on
it on the internet.
YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Everything's on YouTube.
All right.
He's actually a vlogger, if you didn't know.
I did. Well, here's one of the things that changed having a baby, having kids. I don't have the time to film or edit anything anymore, so my vlogging career kind of went down the tube. But
I'm so sorry.
No, but every time I put up a video, it's like it's always something good. So it's like either a wedding video or a birth video. And my wife had 2 home births with midwives and no drugs.
Wow.
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 I've only watched those on documentaries.
So now you can see your very own documentary on my channel. But it was intense is the wrong word. It doesn't even scrape the surface of what it was. And it's beautiful too. Fun story, I wrote the songs. I put both birth videos up. Obviously they're 2 years apart, but I wrote both songs. The first song was for my daughter. I wrote a day after she was born. And Kaya, I wrote the morning after she was born. I was just like in this place of just pure love, and I wrote the songs and I used them as the video songs.
That's beautiful.
And those are videos that like they'll have forever. I mean, it is like it's graphic in the sense of it's not a normal video that you see.
Yeah, it's a human being producing another human being.
Yeah, exactly. Like it is magical. It's absolutely magical. And I would love if I could influence people to try it with no drugs and try it, at their home. Like people were having kids for a very long time before hospitals.
You're 100% right.
I want all the drugs.
Yeah.
All of them, every single one.
At first, honestly, she was like, I don't want to take the spinal tap.
Okay.
Oh, the epidural.
Or the epidural, sorry.
Yeah.
The epidural. And so I asked our midwife, I was like, can you bring the epidural and just put it into my jugular while this is happening? Because I was so nervous. You obviously, you don't want any complications. And she was, she actually started bleeding out after our first baby. But we didn't even see it because Kinsley came out and our midwife put her on my wife's chest, and she was like, it was so amazing to see like their natural instinct is to go for the boob. So she crawled up to the boob before she could even know how to crawl.
Wow.
And she latched on, but in the background of the video, you see her give the shot to cauterize the blood.
Okay, got it.
We didn't see that happen. We didn't even know it happened. We were just like in our own little bubble.
Because you're just focused on your
because
daughter.
we just had this beautiful baby. We waited until the birth to find out if it was boy or girl.
Oh, nice.
So I asked her midwife, I was like, can I lift the leg, to see if there is or is not a thing,
a penis?
Yeah. So I did. I was like, it's a girl. And during that time, we were like crying and laughing and smiling, and you see in the background of the video, our midwife like,
Wow.
It was intense.
Dude, like
Sounds it.
this really changed you as a person.
It totally did.
A musician. I mean, you.
No, by the way, I probably didn't convince anybody to have a home birth.
Oh, no.
Yeah, she almost bled out, and
Nope.
it's like.
But does your writing change? I mean, obviously your lens changes. The lens that you look
Absolutely.
at life changes.
I think the writing does. I think from the very start, even before like We the Kings was We the Kings, like even when I was just like, a band that wasn't a band, or a band in the know rather, I was writing songs that were hopefully uplifting and trying to like bring more positivity into the world. I think that has remained true our entire career. But there's like song content and lyrical content. I think there are changes. There obviously when I write a song about my daughter, it's it sounds very much written that way. You know, like looking down in my baby girl's eyes for the first time, like it's probably like it maybe could be taken as a romantic song, but
it's really about you.
But when you find out, you're like, oh yeah, that's definitely a baby. You know, and even the growth that the band has had, like We the Kings have been through so much. Like when I write about friendship and in that way, like it's different lyrical content because like these are absolutely my brothers, you know, and we spend more time with them than anybody else in the world. So everything really does change. And I expected, I didn't ever want to be the band that, you know, wrote Check Yes Juliet on every single album, you know, because that it might not have worked today. You know, it worked at that moment because we were talking about how lucky you have to be. So when you listen to Check Yes and Sad Song next to each other, they're two different worlds, and it showcases how much we've grown. But at the same time, like I always wanted to change. I wanted to change with our fans as well because they were changing. Nobody's stuck in the same spot.
And that's also a challenge for you. And
yes,
you can get bored if you're only striving for the next Check Yes Juliet.
Yeah, I think what happens too is also you can't please everybody, and that becomes tough because you're like, do I write the same thing that people loved so that people would say like, oh, this is awesome, this sounds exactly like that? Or do I try something new so that people don't say like, oh, they went off on a tangent or they sold out or they did this or that. So on one end, people are going to be like, this is too different. And then on the other end, this is not different enough.
But you can't do anything to please them. You can only do what's true to you.
You can't. And that's, you know, it's not about pleasing the fans. Honestly, you know, I say that with nothing but love to our fans, but it's really not about pleasing them. It's if I can be the best version of myself, write music that rings true to me, then I know it's going to ring true to other people. So I'm going to do them the service.
And isn't that what the fans want, right?
I think
What's
so.
best for you.
I think it's you know, maybe started off different, but now, you know, now that there's so much like self-consciousness in the world, I think that people are starting to understand like if everybody just focuses on being the best versions of themselves, this world will be a much better place.
Right.
But when you see a bunch of comments under like the Check Yes Juliet video, it says, I miss this era, I miss pop punk, I miss pop punk, does it make you consider like maybe I should try it again?
Maybe, but at the same time, it's like if I really wanted to dive in, I would say like, have you gone to, you know, a pop rock show? When's the last time you went? Like we've been touring every single year, you know, since we started, and you guys know about the emo nights.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
So this massive trend of emo nights is amazing, and I think it's amazing for our style of music because it is absolutely nostalgic. You know, this is something that people go to kind of feel like, oh my God, my middle school or high school years.
Nostalgic is the key word there, though.
It is. And I think when people are writing like, I miss this, I think that's just like saying like, yeah, I miss being in middle school too when I didn't have really any responsibility. Like, you know, you miss you go through the nostalgia and you miss that point of your life. And I think that's really what they're saying, you know.
Yeah, but I was going to say like, I was going to ask, do you think it would work today? You kind of mentioned that already. But then when we had 5 Seconds of Summer in here, I didn't realize how pop punk they were.
Right,
and they really did work.
They did. It's, you know, it's always tough to tell. It's, maybe Check Yes would have worked today, you know. I can't, obviously you can't ever know for sure. We'll never know. But, you know, with 5 Seconds of Summer, there are these, you know, good-looking Aussie dudes, you know, that are just cool, and I get why they worked. You know, like even if they didn't have the songs, people were rooting for them because, you know, they would do YouTube videos and they were talented and funny. So I get why they worked. And then on top of it, they had great songs. So,
but you know, is it on bands like We the Kings or Boys Like Girls or any of the pop punk bands from, you know, our generation?
Right.
Is it on you guys to continue making the same music you've always made, or is it up to other people to carry that genre and keep that genre alive?
It depends who you ask, because some people will be like, hey, it's up to you. Like, you started this trend. Like, we got to, you know, keep it going. But I started playing music because Blink-182. Yeah. That was my favorite band, still my favorite band. They inspired me to keep it going.
Yeah.
You know, and although we sound like different bands, we're still in that same general bubble of, you know, we're punk rock kids that play, you know, rock. We're a rock band that can be played on top 40 radio. So you kind of, I think it's up to it's up to both to, I would love to inspire somebody that's in middle school right now to start a band that becomes the next, One Direction of the rock world. Like that would be amazing, and I would feel like I truly gave back to, to the world. Because when I would go to shows, I would just stare up there on stage and just start dreaming, I'd just be like, man, I would fantasize about them stopping the show and be like, is Travis Clark in the audience? Do you want to come up here and play your song? And I would literally think about like what I actually would also fantasize while I was in school that the members of Blink-182, like Tom, Travis, and Mark would come into my classroom and be like, hey, can we borrow Travis real quick? And it's just like such stupid things to think about, but like I was such a dreamer. I'm still a dreamer.
But
It still happened.
I believe that those dreams are like manifestation, right? So like
Yes.
it validates, and it doesn't validate, but it like makes it somewhat tangible, even though it's not really tangible,
Right.
of what you're going for, and it kind of keeps you on that path.
People call them affirmations. Like when you say your affirmations, that's really you're dreaming. I would love to win a Grammy. Like last time we saw each other was at the Grammys, and
Yes.
you're just walking around and you see like the magic in the air, and it's fun, and it's obviously like music's like biggest night. So I would love to win a Grammy. I strive for it, and if I continue saying the affirmations, they can manifest. They really can. If you truly believe in something and you're truly working at it for the right reasons, I believe that these things can actually happen.
Me too, dude.
Yeah.
But what is it like being a part of one of the, I guess, the Mount Rushmore of pop punk bands? Because as a kid growing up, I had the long hair in front of my face. I had the stud
Totally.
belt. I was one of those kids, and I was like, whoa, these guys are like out of this world. What is it like being one of those guys that people like glorify?
I've never seen it that way, to be honest with you. Like even if people say it to me, I've always tried to like dumb us down and be like, no, we're just normal dudes, like just nerdy kids that just wanted girlfriends, and we started a band. That's honestly like the glorification that people sometimes try to give. I try to just be like, hey, we're people too. Don't like hold us on a pedestal, and don't hold any other artist on a pedestal. Like, everybody takes, we all bleed.
Speak for yourself.
But do you think it's deserved?
I think we've worked really, really hard. I think that every single person deserves to be happy. I think every single person deserves to have success, and we are so beyond the success that I ever dreamed of that, like I'm super happy. That doesn't define my happiness, but I think meeting fans that like, oh man, you're in this pop rock bubble, and you're like, you're a god to me or something like that. I'm just like, I can see the positive, I can see the compliment in there, and I'm just like, that's amazing, because there was a time that I thought Blink-182 were gods, and I was just like, they can do no wrong. And holding them on a pedestal is dangerous, because when you do meet them, or when they do put out something that is different or whatever, you're just like, oh man, they broke my heart. But it changes things when you start hearing those kind of compliments, because you got to like put your ego in check.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, don't get crazy. Like, it was just a compliment.
But when you see bands like Yellow Card or All Time Low or some of the other big ones, do you see yourself, like you're saying you don't see yourself in that way, but do you see yourself as one of them, if that makes sense?
I do, yeah. I feel like we're all connected, especially within the genre. And All Time Low specifically, we started around the same time. They got like a couple year head start. Mayday Parade's another one.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those bands that
Would Boys Like Girls be on that list?
absolutely, like Boys Like Girls were our brother band.
Yes.
And
you guys
so
would tour together too.
We did our very first tour was with Boys Like Girls.
I remember that.
We drove across country because they started in LA. We ended up driving over black ice in Dallas, Texas, just outside of Dallas, and we crashed our trailer and van
Whoa.
Sucks.
and got rammed off the road by a semi into freezing cold water.
God.
It was crazy.
Wow.
So we were like, hey, we can't make it to the first show.
Oh no.
Things have happened, complications.
Wow.
But they kind of paved a way for us. They had The Great Escape, which was their first single, and such a good song.
Dude, I'm hearing it in my head.
And yeah, like he hit that chorus. It's like, throw it away. You're just like, okay, I got to start jumping. But I was like, this music's really cool, and it's really catchy, and it works. And they kind of showed us what it was like to be on tour and things like that. So I think it was valuable, really valuable. So, All Time Low, Mayday, Boys Like Girls, like all those bands, I do feel connected. And it's weird. I don't know if I've really thought about how you put it. Like when I see those bands, I'm like, man, they're massive.
Yeah.
But I've never saw ourselves like that. But maybe.
But when you look at BuzzFeed articles about like, pop punk songs you need to know, you guys are always right there at number 1, 2, or 3.
I know that always surprises me too.
Why?
I don't know. I have no answer. I see the things and I'm just like, I think maybe it's because I imagine what my list would be.
Who's on your list?
My list of like top 10, most, influential songs of my being were like Sugar We're Going Down, like Fall Out Boy, All American Rejects.
Yeah.
Swing.
Swing's
I love Swing, but like Dirty Little Secret was.
Oh,
yeah.
Even like early like Maroon 5.
Songs about Jane was such a good
Like
album.
yeah, that album
album.
is obviously different. So there's song like Panic. I write It Sins Not Tragedy.
Yeah.
Like there's those songs that were pivotal to me. So I think when I see the list, I'm just like, why aren't those songs? Some of those songs are on, but like, why aren't those songs? Jimmy Eat World, The Middle, anything from Blink, like that's where my list lies. And I think that's why I'm surprised because the list that I had in my head would be different.
Fascinating.
It's actually funny you brought out the Maroon 5 because I was thinking this morning on the way in, that album was so successful, and they're like, okay, that was great. Let's never do it again.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was like, why aren't these pop punk bands do like they had these successful albums? They did maybe 1 or 2, and then they just never did it again.
It's interesting, but maybe they changed in the same way that we did. You think about like Killers and Kings of Leon, like they kept pretty consistent and they've done all right, but there's nothing like Mr. Brightside. There's nothing like Sex on Fire. Use Somebody like there's it's tricky, and Maroon 5 obviously it worked for them. He's at him, and I'm sure the rest of the guys are at the top of their level game right now.
What about a reunion tour or something like that? Like, get a couple guys, like Boys Like Girls, All Time Low, and just all hit the road together. Like, Warped Tour is about to end. Like,
I know, man. That's sad.
That breaks my heart.
It is bittersweet. I'm so grateful and honored to be on the last year as one of the headliners on main stage.
Huge.
It's actually, this is a fun story. The reason that we ever played Warped Tour, so in 2005, I snuck in. I printed my own tour passes and laminated them at our school because I didn't have enough money to get in.
Nice.
I was on a fake cell phone, and I walked by the security, and I was just like, you got to put the speakers on stage. They got to go now. They got to go now. And the security guard didn't stop me because I had the lanyard, the fake tour pass.
Act like you belong.
Great.
2007, I won an Ernie Ball Battle of the Bands, and I got to play right before Paramore on their stage.
Nice.
And Paramore's another one of those artists where I was like, man, that first record was, even the EP, which is so good. So I got to be backstage, like for real. In 2007, we played one show. It was in St. Pete, so it was in our hometown because they did like every single city was a different Battle of the Bands. So we won, and we got to like, basically I could just considered it opening up for Paramore. Like we probably played right at doors, so there was like nobody there. But
Don't matter.
But then 2008 came, and we had written our record. Check Kiss Julia was on it because we fought for it. And Sierra, Kevin Lyman owns Warped Tour, and he runs it. He started it.
I used to
His
see him
daughter
back then.
Sierra was listening to We the Kings Check Yes Julia on her computer. He walked by. He was like, "What is that?" She's like, "It's Check Yes Julia by We the Kings. Oh my God, they're my favorite band." Like the next day, we got the email. Would you guys like to be on Warped Tour? Here's an offer. And we're like,
that's awesome.
Oh my God. And it was such a good year. It was 2008. So All Time Low, the main Mayday Parade, We the Kings, it was just stocked. Our stage was so cool. We ended up playing all of 2008, half of 2009, all of 2010, all of 2012, all of 2014, all of 2016. And now the last year, 2018, we're playing all of. Like, we are veterans of Warped Tour.
Yeah,
It's been with you from the beginning.
It has, and it's punk rock summer camp.
It is.
It's a dream.
It is a beautiful
Right?
tour to be
Oh
on.
my God.
It
Do you
really
remember
is.
Bamboozle?
Yes, of course.
I miss Bamboozle too.
We played in the Bubble our very first year, and the only reason that people were there because it was hot as hell outside, and there was like shaded air conditioning.
Lucky you.
And we were like, "Hey, everybody, come to the stage. You can sit on the ground here if you want." But it was cool, man. And then like the next year we played was like an endless sea of people. It was like it's so different. You know, we were talking before, like we went on air, like the power that you individually have and that radio has is that you can make a band, you can make or break a band. And I think that's why I have so much respect for radio, because you got to love it when they treat the artist right and they play stuff that they believe in, and not just for the business or things like that. But I saw firsthand, you know, Check Is Juliet was on the radio. Before that, we played in the bubble. After that, we played on one of the side stages with a sea of people that you literally couldn't see the back of. People were on top of porta potties just to see us. That's the only difference that changed.
That's
like
power.
Check Is Juliet was on the radio. So, you know, fast forward 10 years, you know, we've had our ups and downs as a band, but now Sad Song is, you know, exploding in every little facet of our lives, and that can only make the band bigger and expose us to more people, and it's just such a cool thing. And I think that's honestly why I have so much respect for radio, because you guys make a big difference, and who knows how long We the Kings would be together if we didn't have so many things going in our favor.
We appreciate that deeply. I mean, that means a lot. And, you know, has there been a moment where you were kind of down and you were like, okay with walking away from We the Kings? Or
Yeah,
did you know that
what?
this was lifelong?
My dad told me, like, really early, he asked me, he was like, hey, before you get started on this road, he was like, what's your idea of success? You know, like it was basically the talk of like, set your goals, you know, like figure out what you want and go for it. He was like, if you want, you know, money and, you know, materialistic things and girls all around you and just like that life, then by all means go for it. But I'll never forget, he said, if you're anything like me, then you'll just be happy doing what you love, no matter what the money comes. And I'm exactly like my dad. You know, he made, you know, a life for us that was better than what he had. And that's your goal as a parent, as a family member, is like, I want my kids to have something that I didn't get a chance to have. And I want their kids to have something that my kids didn't, you know, and so forth and so on. But it just, man, it changes everything. And that advice that he gave me was like, if that's true, then, you know, that all that matters is that you have a roof over your head, you have a guitar, you can sit in a room, and that can be your therapy.
But you could make music without We the Kings. You could have written for other people.
I have. I just recently wrote 3 of Avril Lavigne songs.
Oh, nice.
I know. Sorry,
that
I had to brag because I was like,
You should brag about that. That's awesome.
It came together so weirdly, but I mean, damn, like talk about someone that can sing their face off. She's so talented.
She's a legend.
She's a legend. She actually is a legend. And like, even being in the room with her and like having conversations, like I still get giddy, you know, I still like, oh my God, like I see the bubbles like in a text message. I'm like, currently right now she's thinking about me. And you're just like, this is so cool.
So do you go into the studio with Avril with songs ready, or do you go in blank slate?
No, it was basically a blank slate. We were sitting there on the piano and she was right next to me, and we were just kind of like playing around with stuff, and it all happened so organically. The songs are unbelievably incredible, and they're so real. And she had battles, you know, with the sickness, and it made her tired and made her not feel like she wanted to go on and be touring and stuff like that. And she just overcame it like a champion, like a legend. And, you know, I was just so honored to be a part of helping the musical therapy from her side.
But is there pressure, and do you listen or re-listen to vintage Avril before you enter that studio, or are you striving to do something completely different than like Skater Boy complicated era?
I think she had the idea of, she wanted this just strength album. You know, she wanted this album to mean more than those songs, and not just about a dumb boy or you know, she wanted to showcase her voice. She wanted to showcase her strength, and she wanted to inspire others to have that same strength who are going through their different speed bumps in life. And once I heard that, like that's what I'm all about. Like I love writing those anthemic songs that just sound like, hey, you can't perform this anywhere else other than an arena.
Yeah,
like
right?
with everybody singing and everybody's like, you know, cell phones or lighters in the air, and like that is so cool to me. And that was like, we went into it like, let's make the biggest song ever.
Wow.
And you know, we made it. Honestly, it sounds cheesy, but we made magic. Like, it is so cool to work with somebody like that. But to answer the question, like, yeah, I was absolutely so nervous. Like, I didn't want to let her down. I didn't want to let her fans down, and I didn't want to let myself down. I knew that I loved writing, and I don't have a problem with sitting in a room with anybody, regardless of, you know, how successful they had been. You know, I just take a deep breath and do what I do, and it ended up working out really well. And sometimes when you're working with another artist, as far as like collaborating on a song, it can be very difficult. I'm sure, like, even with interviews and radio and things like that, sometimes it's very easy to talk to somebody, and sometimes it's probably like pulling teeth.
Yeah.
But in the studio, you need to be comfortable. Everybody needs to be vulnerable and open, and you need to feel okay opening yourself up and letting somebody else in.
You know, the bottom line is you need to be okay with giving a idea.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
honestly,
true.
You need to be okay with saying a lyric that everybody else in the room is like,
Okay.
we're definitely not using that. You know, and that's the truth.
Because Avril's in a unique position because everybody knows her music.
Everybody.
Everybody, but you don't want the same. But that's kind of like the first thing that comes to mind, and she's in a position where she can either go back to doing what she used to do, or define and create a whole new Avril.
Yeah, and that, to be honest with you, like, that's her decision. That's, you know, I respect her artistry. I respect her as an artist. I don't want to change her life. I do. I want to change her life for the better if I can. But if she wants, whatever path she wants to go down, like, I was there just to assist and to like help collaborate and throw in essentially like my color into her mix. And
why do you think she wanted to work with you?
It didn't come from management. It didn't come from label. It didn't come from lawyers. I had gone over to meet a friend, Ryan Cabrera.
Cool. Love it.
And we were there watching football. So it was like a Sunday. And
man stuff.
I didn't know it was Avril's place, her condo. So I went.
Wait, hold on. You just happened to be watching football in Avril Lavigne's condominium?
Yeah, I didn't ask whose house it was. And Ryan, he's so funny, man, because I'm convinced that he knows everybody in LA. So I just like assume like, oh, maybe this is his other house or something. But he had this 9-foot grand piano. Well, she had this 9-foot grand piano, beautiful, in this living room by itself. I was like, dude, do you mind if I play? And he was like, yeah, go ahead. So I just started like playing because I'm just like such a sucker for piano. I started playing, and like out of the corner of my eye, like 5 minutes later, walks in Avril Lavigne. I'm just like, oh, what's happening? What is this? And I realized she was like, do you like my piano? And I was like, I am so sorry. Like, I should have asked. I didn't know this was your house. And I was like, I'll stop playing. She was like, no, please don't. Oh my God, it was so beautiful. I came out here to tell you that it was beautiful. And she sat down and just listened to me play piano for like an hour and a half. And her friend came over and was like, why don't you guys write together? And she was like, would you write? Like, that would be so fun. And I truly believe, like, if it came from management, came from labels, I wouldn't even gotten in the door.
Yeah.
You know, to hear and see on an email, like, here's Travis from We the Kings. He's had 5 singles at radio. He has another one that's going to radio right now that's almost ready to chart. I don't even think that's enough to get me in the door. But hearing it and hearing how passionate I was about music, I think changed everything.
That's how you know it was meant to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
You were meant to write with her, and you were meant to, you know, create records with her for her album.
I truly believe that because, you know, hindsight now, listening to the songs, I'm like, man, the world needs to hear these. Like, this could like change a kid's life. You know, this could like make somebody smile.
Are they going to be cuts? Do you know?
Yeah, they are.
Congratulations.
Nice. Thank you.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. I'm like pretty giddy about it.
Do you know when those records are going to hit?
I do not, but the one of the 3 songs that we did is the lead single.
Okay.
Whoa!
Look at you.
Yeah. Sorry. Can you guys find me a better couch?
Yeah, right?
Wow. Dude, meant to be.
Yeah, and
it's crazy.
And you know, when you start really thinking about it, it's like, okay, let's go back to the very beginning. Had we not pushed for Check Yes Juliet to be on that album, I wouldn't have had this opportunity. And then all the little left turns and right turns that you've made in your entire life led you to be exactly where you are at that exact moment, into this present moment where we all stand. Like, we are all meant to be here right now, and it's really cool. Like, it's trippy. Like,
it is
human
really
behavior
trippy.
is like, the psychology of human behavior is like so fascinating to me.
I went through a period like maybe 2 years ago or something, and I just kind of analyzed my life, and I'm like, how did I end up here? Like, how did I get to where I'm at right now?
I do that every day.
And
Think about how lucky, like how many breaks that you had to get.
Oh
you know,
my gosh.
obviously you work hard your entire life every single day, but and talent is a massive part of it. But like, think about all the times that you're just like, oh wow, I just got really lucky.
dude,
you know,
it's interviews that led to moments. It's conversation. It's being in the right, the right place at the right time.
Totally.
Every little thing matters. Life is like an equation. This plus this plus this plus this equals this, but the equation is always evolving. It's always growing.
Right. And you know, how many times have people ask like how do you do it? You know, how do you make it? You know, and I don't know if I have an answer. It's like, you know, I remember I used to tell people like, okay, if you want to make it in the music industry, there was a time that I was like really resentful towards just all the music that was coming out. And I was like, okay, if you want to make it as a band, find a good looking 16-year-old that can sing, well, and then find somebody to write their songs. And I was just like, I was this bitter guy, but now it's like, how do you tell somebody who's like, how do you make it? You got to be like, well, you have to have talent. You have to work harder than the next guy. And you have to just pray for a lucky moment.
Yeah.
And that's, if you get that A plus B plus C, you get the X factor, if you will.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had one other question I really wanted to ask.
Oh, please. Yeah.
So in the Sad Song music video,
Yeah.
your wife dies in it?
So, sort of. I wrote the treatment for it. The song meant a lot to me. It obviously, I wrote it on the road, like I said, and it was all about, missing my family just more than ever. And so when I was writing the treatment for it, the idea was, it was fear. It's our lives are run by fear, unfortunately sometimes. And, being afraid of losing somebody that you love so much, whether it be losing interest, losing their life, things like that, or losing moments, every moment is so fleeting, and I wanted to be there for every my daughter's first step, my wife getting an audio. So my wife is Jennifer Aniston's body double and stand-in. She's done it for 7 years.
Really?
That's cool.
So yeah, I gotta brag for her because I'm such a
That's
fan.
pretty
I
dope.
didn't even know that existed.
Dude.
So anytime you see Jen Aniston without her face, it's my wife.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, and they actually look like crazy similar. But so in the video, I write this treatment about fear, and when it comes to music videos, it's like you really got to go the distance. So
Yeah.
like it can't just be like a divorce or something. It's got to be death.
It's gotta be.
So
Death is the worst.
The
so
all and
at
all.
the very end of the video, basically here's what happens. So I get a phone call and I drop to the floor, and and I'm just shocked. When I was writing it, I was like, I imagined maybe like a car crash, where it's something tragic, not planned. And my daughter helps me through life, and I realize and I rediscover the love, and I see my wife and my daughter, which is true. Even today, I see my wife and both my daughters, and it's so cool. So you realize to let go of that hate and that resentment. But at the very end of the video, you hear a phone ringing. It's just a black screen, and she's like, "Hey, babe, I'll be home soon." And you realize that was just a dream. It was the whole video was just a dream of my fear.
Still must be weird for her to watch you carrying around her ashes.
I know she wasn't sure. Honestly, this was actually a really big thing because I obviously wouldn't have the same chemistry as husband and wife as I would with an actress that we paid.
What if it was Jennifer Aniston?
If it was Jennifer Aniston, I'd be like, babe, we should probably go with Jen Aniston because there's kissing scenes in it. I'm just like, that would be awesome if I got no. But
That'd make her feel real good.
she feels so good.
The first time her
she was
face
also-
needs to show up on camera.
She's pregnant in the video, so that was also we hit it. But hormones and emotions are already flying high, so I'm sure seeing me kiss Jennifer Aniston
Destroy
would be
everything.
nuts. So anyways, we had this talk where she was like, I don't know if I should do this video. She doesn't do when she gets hired to do roles in movies, TV shows, or commercials that deal with like sickness, or she doesn't do them because she doesn't want to like
It's bad juju.
bad juju, you know, put a sphinx on her or
I
something.
totally
And so
get it.
I explained to her, I was like, this isn't projecting on our future. This is something that I feel really passionate about doing and reaching kids who have gone through something like this, and how that they too can rediscover love and they can rediscover happiness, and it's not the end of the rope for a lot of these people. And she saw all the good that came from it. And when the video came out, it just exploded, and people were just like, it's the saddest video I've ever seen. But I was like, you guys realize the song is called Sad Song,
Yeah, right.
you know? And it ended up being like, there's so many positive outlooks on it, and that was really special to us.
If you haven't listened to Sad Song, you need to.
Mm-hmm.
It's out now. It's featuring Elena Coates.
Yes.
Do we have a date for the album yet? You've been working on it.
I will tell you this. We don't have an exact date, but we promised Warped Tour that we would have a new album before Warped Tour. So
Oh, wow.
Warped Tour starts June 20th.
Yeah.
So
Whoa.
I can tell you it will be out before June 19th.
And soon.
Okay.
Looking forward to it.
It's done, and it's so good. I'll play you some stuff. It's one of my favorite tracks on it, and it feels like it's Sad Song Part 2. One of my favorite tracks on the new record is What I Wouldn't Give, and I wrote it for my mother-in-law who passed away 2 weeks ago. And when you start thinking about this, you're like, man, I would give anything. You know, I would, like, the chorus is like, I would give my eyes if I could see you one more time. I would give my lungs if I could breathe your air inside. I would give my arms if I could hold you into mine. I would take your place if you would take mine. You know, and there's no,
Goosebumps.
you know, it's like what I wouldn't give for time. You know, and it's just so special to me. The whole album is, you know, Brett even said it the other day. He was like, this album feels like really sentimental. This feels like I think it's going to really touch a lot of people.
Did you write that record after her death or before?
2 days after. Wow. Yeah. And it
So
was
you
just,
experience stuff and you get right into it.
I do. You know, it's because, I mean, you summed it up best. Like, it is absolute therapy.
Yeah.
But like, I was just in the studio with my piano, and I closed my eyes, and I was just like, it feels weird to say this, but like, I kind of feel like she like helped me co-write it. You know, like the spirit and like who she was as a person, it was just like one of the most beautiful women I've ever met in my life. And just blessed and grateful for the years that I did get to know her and get to hug her and have her here. That when I was writing the song, I knew that she would love it. Like, you know, it was one of those things. So like everything on the record is so passionate, and that is the way that, like, regardless of what genre it is, like, that's how I want to go with our music from here on out. I want everything to mean something. I don't want to sit there in the studio and try to write a hit song. I just want to write songs that mean something to me. And if they happen to be hits later on, like Sad Song is, then that's, you know, perfect.
And that's cool.
Best case scenario.
Travis, appreciate you deeply, dude.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
You guys are awesome.
Hey,
Thank you.
Yeah, we try.
thanks for hanging out, man.
You don't even have to try, and you do it.
That's accurate, yes.
We the Kings, everybody.
All right.
I really hope you enjoyed that conversation. If you did, please subscribe and also check out our podcast. There's a link in the description, and also comment and like and do things. Other interviews are on the screen somewhere, so click them. Thanks for watching.